Hey everyone, Attorney Matthew Ligon Sanchez here. Today let's talk about some mistakes that will haunt your custody and visitation case like a ghost in the night. Establishing a week visitation schedule after you break up is going to haunt your custody case. You see, the courts, they really are impacted by the status quo and what you've been doing right after you separate. So let's say that you separate, a couple of weeks, couple of months pass, you're doing every other weekend. You're doing every other weekend, so maybe you can go out, you can hang out with friends, you can meet someone new. That every other weekend is becoming the status quo in your case. And the longer that you go with having every other weekend, the harder it's going to change to get 50-50, to get whatever else you want. Right off the bat, day one, you need to establish the time sharing that you want as an end goal. Let's say you want 50-50. Well, then establish 50-50 right off the bat. Let's say you want 3 days a week. 3 days a week it is. Right off the bat, establish that. If your ex says no, well then you need to file a motion, because if your ex says no and you're following every other weekend or whatever your ex tells you to do, the judge is going to look at that and say, you know, that was the status quo, that's what you've been doing. Judges like predictable schedules, they like consistency in a child's life. If your every other weekend's been working, they're not going to want to fix what's not broken. Posting about your cool life on social media with pictures of you drinking, pictures of you partying, pictures of you out all night, maybe getting arrested, may seem really cool to your high school friends, may seem really cool to yourself when you're looking at it, thinking, hey, my ex is seeing me all over the place. Your judge, though, is not going to think it's cool. Your judge is not going to be impressed by you passed out drunk with bottles all around you. Your ex isn't going to be impressed with you ghost riding the whip while you're drunk or, you know, drinking and driving. Anything like that, your judge isn't going to think it's cool. So don't put it on the internet. Don't put it out there. It's going to come back to haunt you like a ghost in the night. Don't numb the pain of your separation or your divorce with drugs and alcohol. Look, a breakup, it sucks. It's not a good time in your life. Divorce is continually listed as one of the worst and most stressful events that you're ever going to go through. But numbing it with drugs and alcohol is only going to kill your custody case. It's going to haunt your custody case. The court has the ability to give you a drug test. It can go back 6 months. They can give you an alcohol test. It can test 3 weeks of how much alcohol you've consumed. And if you test really bad on that, it's going to hurt your case, especially if there's domestic violence, especially if there's driving while intoxicated. I mean, look, if alcohol or drugs was a sore spot in your relationship, if it was the reason for your breakup, you can almost guarantee that it's going to be a big issue in court. And it's going to be a big shiny red button that's going to be flashing in court. Your ex is going to play that issue up. So get a hold of the issue. Marijuana is now legal in New Mexico. You can smoke marijuana legally. You can also drink legally. Absolutely. No argument there. But there's a difference between smoking marijuana recreationally and being awake and bake, smoking all day. There's a big difference between having a glass of wine with your dinner and with waking up in the morning, you're so hungover you have to pour Jack Daniels into your coffee just to survive the day. Judge is going to have a problem with that. Keep it clean a couple of weeks before your hearing. That's going to be the best bet, especially if your ex brings up issues. If that was a sore spot in your relationship, you're going to really need to get a handle on that, because the court, even though it's legal, abusive levels are concerning to your judge. Reacting violently to your breakup is going to definitely haunt your case, and it's going to haunt it long term. If you react violently to a breakup and you break property, you send offensive text messages, you hit, you stalk, anything that's abusive, it's going to haunt your case. You're probably going to get an order of protection entered against you. That order of protection is probably going to give your ex sole legal custody, probably give you temporary sole legal custody, or you're going to have visitation that's supervised. You're not going to want it. It's going to haunt you long term. It's going to at least at the minimum, you're gonna have to go do an order of protection hearing. Your ex is gonna have sole legal custody for a couple of weeks. You're gonna have to go before a hearing officer. And even if you get that dismissed, you still had to go through all of that. Moral of the story here, don't send offensive text messages. Don't break property. Don't touch your ex in a rude or insolent way is what the law describes it. Don't do any of that. Don't threaten to harm yourself as well. That's a big one. Threats of self-harm, extremely concerning to hearing officers, routinely lead to an order of protection, especially if you're sending that in a text message or something that's, evidence that could be entered against you, really bad. Breaks up are hard. It can be an emotionally devastating time, but threatening to kill yourself or to harm yourself is a really bad move that's gonna haunt you long term. Letting your ex call all of the shots while waiting for your divorce or your custody case to be filed, horrible. Horrible decision, can haunt your case long term. You see, if your ex is calling all the shots and saying when you can have visitation, when you can't have visitation, setting up a status quo like we talked about, and that status quo is going to cement. If your ex is calling all the shots, you're going to need to get a motion filed. You're going to need it before the court. Otherwise, what your ex is telling you to do, you're going to have to follow. Do you still have questions about custody issues that will haunt your case like a ghost in the night? Do you have questions about how to improve your custody case or just about New Mexico law? If so, call me. Call attorney Matthew Ligon-Sanchez at 505-SANCHEZ. I'll talk to you about your case. Every case is different. Your case is different. I'll hear your case and we'll get to the bottom of what's best for you. Call 505-SANCHEZ.